Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. Okay, let's get started again. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, right? We've all heard that. And no, I'm not going into politics. The weekend was kind of interesting to see what was going on. And something came up that was not talked about at all, and all of a sudden hit the news and hit the antenna that I've got here to find information out in a couple of places, all around something called nuclear. Now, I want to start with this one. By now, you probably have seen that the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine, granted it's Russian-held right now, largest nuclear power plant in Europe, one of the cooling towers is on fire, okay, or at least was last night. It was about 5:30 last night that video was coming out that the cooling tower was on fire. Now, Russia is saying out of both sides of their mouths, this is the interesting part, that the power plant was attacked by 2 Ukrainian drones. Now that's just dangerous in itself. You guys remember going through this last year when there was all sorts of worry about the power plant being attacked. Well, Russia has come out and said 2 things on this. One, that there's no worries. And they've also said that this could be a huge nuclear disaster. Yeah, those are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, and you start worrying about something like that. This is on Ukrainian territory, so the Ukrainians bombing a nuclear power plant on, at least the way the map used to read, on their own territory is a little suspect as well. So we don't know what's going on. Russia-Ukraine has really taken a strange turn here in the last week or so, with now the Ukrainians pushing into the Kursk region, hitting a natural gas plant about 2,000 kilometers into Russia. The war is weird, okay? You know, you're going to hear people say Putin's losing, Russia's about to collapse. Nah, I don't see that. Okay, basically what I think this is the last gasp, last desperate effort by Ukraine to throw everything but the kitchen sink at Russia and hope that something happens. You know, again, you've got to remember Zelensky knows that there's a good chance that the checkbook is going to dry up here real quick when Joe Biden's no longer president and he doesn't have any corruption control over Donald Trump. Let's say, okay, but that's, I'm not, like I said, not getting into politics. So you look at that, and then you look at the conflicting reports that came out of Israel yesterday, last night, where, again, we know Israel is a nuclear country. We suspect Iran has gotten close enough at least to make a dirty bomb. And there was reports coming out yesterday that there may be a temporary ceasefire between Iran and Israel. That NATO has put so many fighter planes into the Middle East that Iran is going, okay, if you don't do anything for 2 weeks, we promise we won't do anything for 2 weeks. Maybe gets a chance for some peace talks. But then, of course, within an hour of that coming out, you had reports that Hezbollah had launched 30 missiles into Israel. Is it, well, gee, you know what, we're going to do this real quick and then that'll be it, you know, getting the last word in? Don't know. So you look and you go, all right, we have nuclear powers, nuclear issues all around the world. And again, whether we ever get into a conventional nuclear war or, for those of you guys that don't know, an EMP is a nuclear explosion, if you will, just in the stratosphere. Okay, it's not a ground explosion, so it's different. You're not going to have fallout and all that sort of stuff. Okay, that's just to wipe out the electrical grid. So you go, all right, this is in Ukraine, this is in Israel, this is 6,000, 8,000 miles away, doesn't affect us. But then you get into what is going on in the United States. Now, I'm going to qualify everything from here I'm going to say. This is all hearsay. I have not viewed any of this myself. This is what I have heard through the grapevine from people. I have not talked to anybody directly. It's passed from person to person to person. Y'all know what the Oakridge National Lab is, right? It's here in the Knoxville area. You know, you guys all know the Manhattan Project, right? You know, the atomic bomb, World War II. Oakridge was instrumental in developing the atomic bomb 70 years ago. There's some construction going on at Oakridge right now. Now, if you go read the media, and I'll link the article from about 10 days ago that came out in the Knoxville News, they're developing a, it's called Hermes, okay, to generate heat that, this would be not nuclear power, but to generate nuclear heat, that, a new way to offset any use of coal or natural gas or whatever. Okay. That sounds really good. That sounds really unobtrusive, anything like that. Okay. We're figuring out some way to create heat, wintertime. I mean, it gets cold enough here in the winter that we got to turn the heat on. Do I buy it? No. Okay. Here's the reason why. And I've heard this from 3 different sources. A couple of things. First off, the people that, now you got to understand, Oakridge is a highly secure area, all right? Security clearances and everything to work there, whole 9 yards. And again, depending on where you work, but you have access to things, and some places are secured access, it's certainly, okay. Other places without clearance you're not going to get to. But it brings up the question is this: why are they hiring people for this construction project at breakneck speed? And in information I've got on one person, knowing that the electricians are not even being vetted. No security clearance, no checking them out. The company that they work for, of course, vets them. The company that is contracted to Oakridge, of course, has been vetted, but the employees, no. Okay. That's interesting. And if we're talking electricians, and if we're talking about generating heat, okay, electricity, conduction is going to be important. They're going to be on the near front lines to whatever we're doing. I mean, obviously not any sort of reactor, but the transmission lines for whatever, electricity, however the heat is being transferred, whether it's steam or whatever. Okay. But this is a different kind of plant, so they're bringing in all these people. Now, these people obviously are on site. This isn't a remote job. They're not sitting in their living room, listening to whatever music they listen to and doing this. They're there. So this is where the interesting part comes up. And it makes absolutely no sense to me. I can't figure it out because it doesn't logically work. If this is a construction project to create heat, create power, create something, that's not super scary, let's put it that way. Supposedly, back in the woods on the Oakridge facility, about a week ago, a train pulled in. Now, you guys have mentioned stuff like this all over the place for the last couple of years about train traffic. There's a train that supposedly is parked, hidden, on the Oakridge facility, full of military armored vehicles. Now, if you go to the ORNL site, they will specifically say they have no military vehicles on site. Okay? But there's a train hidden that people have seen that is parked there, that has black helicopters flying over it 24/7, back and forth, just doing circles, multiple helicopters. What's really going on out there? Don't know. Are they developing something new? It's very possible. Are we upgrading our nuclear arsenal? Very possible. I mean, our nuclear arsenal is now, what, 50 years old? Okay. This is stuff to pay attention to see. This is stuff that nobody talks about. And we all know 90% of what goes on, we're oblivious to. That the government doesn't tell us, with good reason. I mean, honestly, if we knew everything that was going on in the governments of the world, we'd all be a bunch of basket cases. So there's good reason, you know. They keep a lot of stuff secret because they don't want to freak out the population. They should want, okay, whether or not they do is a different question, the people to live a normal, peaceful, quiet life. But stuff goes on, and we all know that we don't get told anything until 11:59. And then it's all of a sudden you need to do this. We're going to, I mean, nobody knew anything in the 1940s about the development of an atomic bomb until all of a sudden one day we turned on the news and realized that Hiroshima and Nagasaki had been hit. Okay. We don't know what the plans are. Don't know what's going on. But it needs to be paid attention to. You need to dig deeper. You need to think when you see things that are out of whack, okay, just that don't make sense. And like I said, I know a bunch of people have said over the last couple of years they see train traffic with military vehicles on it. And, you know, most of the time that is vehicles being shipped to a national training center or something, or they could be vehicles being shipped to port somewhere to be put on ships to be sent to Europe, you know, whatever. Those things happen. But to park a train full of armored vehicles at a nuclear facility that claims they have none, and to hide it, and to be protecting it with black helicopters, at the same time we have war in Europe, we have war in the Middle East, and we're all just waiting for the day we hear about war in Asia. How long is it until we're involved in 1, 2, 3 wars? How long is it till we're involved with the war here? How long is it till the button gets pushed? That's when everything changes. It's just a matter of us being ready just in case. We've talked about nuclear preparedness many times here. I know a lot of channels have, okay, on having potassium iodide, having NBC suits, whatever, how to protect yourself, how to seal the house, how to have a safe room, what should be in it, etc., etc., etc. You need to pay attention to this, because believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. There's going to be a day we're going to wake up and off in the distance, there's going to be a mushroom cloud. Not trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to wake you up with a dose of reality and make you think. We'll see you later. Pinball out.